President Trump's 2024 Veep Stakes is heating up after several of his potential running mates spent the weekend at Mar-a-Lago for the RNC Spring Retreat. Brooke Singman here with more. Hey, Brooke.
Hey, good morning, Todd. Yeah, this weekend's Republican donor retreat gave former President Trump the chance to screen some of his potential running mates, but some of the rumored candidates are remaining tight-lipped about their political futures. Listen.
So they want to speculate on the VP thing. Here's the good news, and I saw it this weekend. The amount of talent that we have in the Republican Party is extraordinary. He doesn't just have a bunch of choices for VP. He has a bunch of choices for a cabinet.
There's a lot of names that are in the mix. I'm honored to have my names as one of them in the mix right now. But it is a true testament to the strength of the Republican Party.
We had no conversations about the VP pick, to be honest with you, to be clear.
If I'm on it, who would know? But it's not why I'm out supporting the president right now.
And with Election Day just 6 months away, a new poll shows former President Trump leading President Biden by 2 points in a head-to-head matchup. Meanwhile, the Biden campaign is now limiting how much the president says on the campaign trail. The team is now taking a new less is more approach where the president will reportedly stick to 3 or just 4 talking points during public appearances. Interesting. As for Vice President Kamala Harris, today she'll make the second stop of her economic opportunity tour in Detroit, where she's expected to highlight the Biden administration's investments in black-owned businesses. And this weekend, Trump made an appearance at the Formula One Miami Grand Prix, where he was greeted with cheers from the crowd. Watch. Yeah, former President Trump is taking advantage of his moments away from that New York City courtroom where he is currently on trial. He's due back there this morning at 9:30 a.m.
If you can dodge traffic, you can dodge a ball. Have fun! I'm okay! Ow, man! Wake up, Smithy! Holy hell, son, you're about as useful as a flavored lollipop. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. What? Any other questions?
Oh my God. So good. Oh, that's an all-timer. It's an all-timer, baby. That is so great. Great meme, Jerry. Let's just load that up. Let's have that a permanent meme of Donald Trump throwing wrenches at the VP candidates from this weekend. Baby, do we have a lot of news from this weekend. We'll cover it all on today's show, Monday, May 6th, 2024. Donald Trump's VP search continues at massive Mar-a-Lago fundraiser, GOP unity, consolidating ahead of Donald Trump, winning landslide-level supports in all polls, showing Trump up 10 and 12 points. Things are getting wild here. Judge threatens Trump with jail over gag order violations because it's a day that ends in Y. There's only one man, ladies and gentlemen, who we would want to talk about the deep state attacks on Donald Trump through the legal system, and that is former DOJ prosecutor Kash Patel. Joins the show today. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. You will see in clips that we are about to show you from Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump effectively doing apprentice-style auditions for all of his VPs. And what you'll also see is that Mar-a-Lago is encased in gold. Why is Mar-a-Lago and many of Trump properties encased in gold? Because gold has intrinsic value. The markets for gold have gone up. They've been ripping right now, actually. And if you'd believe me, like 3 years ago when we started talking about Allegiance Gold, well, you'd be doing very, very nicely right now. Go to my friends at Allegiance Gold. Make sure that you invest in something that is worth something, because, you know, the dollar is just effectively made up. All currency is like effectively made up. There's no limiting principle. There's no limiting factors to currency. And so buy things that are actually fixed. There is an actual limited supply of each of them, and that means they go up. As the number of dollars get printed, that asset goes up. Go gold, precious metals with my friends at Allegiance. Go to protectwithbenny.com today. 84466-BENNY. Right now, get $5,000 free silver with a qualifying purchase. Don't get fooled by crazy prices in the stock market. Protectwithbenny.com today. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, We got some massive, massive breaking news here from the courthouse in New York. So there's some wild stuff going on right now. Apparently there was a order from the judge that says, hey, listen, I am going to effectively, if Donald Trump keeps speaking freely, I am going to effectively jail you. Now, I'm going to put you in jail. Now, we've been covering this for a while, how the scheme is going to be, they put Donald Trump in jail and then they strip him of all of his Secret Service. Now, what are they wanting to put Donald Trump in jail for? Donald Trump is and was this weekend at Mar-a-Lago, effectively doing a VP audition. In fact, Donald Trump actually used our photographs from the weekend to say, hey, my vice president is literally in this photo. Here's Donald Trump using our content to effectively announce his vice presidential selection. We put up a photo from the stage, and the photo is really great. It's a photo of Donald Trump with a ton of VP candidates. You have Vivek on there. You have Tim Scott on there. Marco Rubio on there. You have J.D. Vance, some people that we really like. Doug Burgum. I'm not super hot on Doug Burgum. I don't know. I don't think you should go like the Mike Pence route anymore, right? I think you should go dynamic. We have our own favorites, but this is effectively what everybody has been telling us, that Donald Trump did the RNC meeting. He sat in the front row the entire time, and he trotted out the people who he wanted to have as a selection for the vice president. Now, that list is apparently down to 4: Doug Burgum, Tim Scott, J.D. Vance, and Marco Rubio. I have my favorite among that group. You know, I always was for the dynamic Tucker Carlson choice or Vivek Ramaswamy choice. But here, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump using our post on Truth Social, and our post was, is Donald Trump's VP on this stage? And Trump posted it. Boom. So what does that mean? That means he's on the stage. Now, Donald Trump is being threatened with prison right now. We'll get to that in just a moment. Being threatened with prison right now based on what he said at this event, ladies and gentlemen. But this is the vice presidential audition. Now, there was a Bloomberg report out on Friday that said Donald Trump is down to 4. He has his 4 favorites, and that those 4 favorites, the leader is Marco Rubio. What do you think about that? Light up the comment section. What do you think about Marco Rubio? We're hearing that a lot. Apparently, Axios has leaked audio from Donald Trump talking about every single VP. Again, Donald Trump sat in the front row like it was a freaking Apprentice episode and watched everyone and then gave live feedback to his biggest donors during their performances on stage. It's awesome. We've been making sort of the allegory that this was that this was just going to become the real-time Apprentice. We started like coming up with that effectively like during New Hampshire, when Trump had Vivek and Tim Scott sort of go at each. He was like, put Vivek and Tim Scott on stage together to see how well they did and see how well the audience reacts. So 2 quick things here. Messages from Trump world. We have a lot of friends in Trump world. Donald Trump shares our posts to announce his vice president, right? Donald Trump shared the post saying the vice president is on stage in this photo. 2 things from Trump world. Trump world tells us that Donald Trump makes a decision in Trump time. Trump time is what Donald Trump feels in his gut, and that decision will come in July. Today is May the 6th, and so we still have maybe 2 months. You never know. He could announce today, but you never know. We still have maybe 2 months, give or take, of Donald Trump announcing. Of course, in July is also the Republican National Convention, which we will be at, and we will have big events at, and it's going to be really, really exciting. So get ready. We may or may not have a live event to announce soon with some big-time VP favorites. Very excited moving forward here. The Republican convention, we're gonna be out cha, as they say. But ladies and gentlemen, that's what Trump team says. What the reporters say at Bloomberg, for instance, is that Donald Trump is down to 4. Again, I'll list the 4 again. Vice presidential finalists: Marco Rubio, Doug Burgum, J.D. Vance, Tim Scott. You know, they're all from, right? You know a lot about these guys. A lot of them are known quantities, known entities. And they were all, every single one of them was on TV this weekend. So it's getting really interesting. It's really heating up. Donald Trump was asked about this on Friday, okay? So just well after the show, This is after the Bloomberg piece published. And Donald Trump was asked, hey, who's going to be your VP? Here's what Trump had to say.
Who's your favorite right now? My favorite for what? Vice President. Well, who's my favorite for Vice President? Well, I'll be making that determination sometime prior to the convention.
Sometime prior to the convention. Now, we heard from Trump team that it's going to be July. That's what they told us. And that it happens on Trump time. Trump time is Donald Trump feeling things with his gut and doing auditions like he just did at Mar-a-Lago. Many people are saying Marco Rubio is the favorite. I got to tell you, given the list, I have already told you my favorite would be Vivek. We know Vivek. We work with Vivek. I'm a big fan of Vivek. Okay, we like Vivek. But if Vivek is out, which nobody has told us he's out, but if he's not actually the final, let's assume this reporting is true. All right, and Vivek was there. Vivek was on stage. In fact, can we put up the Trump truth one more time? Vivek's on stage in this photo. You can see that Vivek is like way in the back. Is actually standing right behind Donald Trump in the photo. It's kind of hard to see because Trump's shoulder covers half his face, but Vivek is standing right behind Donald Trump in the photo. J.D. Vance flanking him. So Vivek on one side, J.D. Vance on the other. And so, given the fact that this may or may not be. And ALX is saying he can send you a photograph. Let's send the real photo in there so that we can crop in and sort of punch in on the actual photo. I want to actually move around the photo because it's too far away what Trump posted. We'll zoom in and show you everyone on stage. But I'll show you my cards. All right. I've ran the numbers. I think I know who the VP choice is. I think I do. And it's not because I'm biased towards this individual. It's because I'm being practical. Now, I have done work with Marco Rubio, meaning Marco Rubio and I, when he was running for president in 2016, I went and I did interviews with him. We filmed some campaign video, some videos, some funny content, internet content. Okay, it was a very different landscape back then. A bunch of people running for president, and I was like, all right, we'll film with Marco Rubio. I really have nothing, and to this very day, I have nothing against Marco Rubio. You can see on stage here a number of members of the House. There's Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump. You see Marsha Blackburn there. You see Vivek sort of hiding over Trump's shoulder, J.D. Vance. There's Tim Scott along with Speaker Johnson, total traitor, and Mike Lee, Doug Burgum, and Elise Stefanik. And rounding out the corner there is Byron Donalds and Michael McCall. Yeah. So we have members. So we have sort of members of the House, sort of very, very centric. This is very unity party photo. Okay, it's a very unity party photo. Oh, Rob Blagojevich. Okay, all right. That's a random piece. Now that's random. I wasn't expecting Rob Blagojevich, but there he is. He was pardoned by Donald Trump, the former governor of Illinois. So I'll tell you this. My favorite is Rubio, given that list, assuming that list is correct, because Marco Rubio is going to be, take a step back. We want to win, okay? So I don't want to lose as an America First conservative. I want to win as an America First conservative. I want to win. Winning is essential. We should win on our principles. That is what we must do, and that is what the show is all about. The show is not about controlled decline. Those were the campaigns of John McCain, Jeb Bush, Mitt Romney. You want controlled decline? I'll show you controlled decline. Mitt Romney, John McCain, Jeb Bush. That's controlled decline. All right? They are the candidates of controlled decline. Chris Christie running for president this year. Controlled decline. Nikki Haley, controlled decline. They're the candidates of putting the pillow quietly over the face of the Republican Party while we're in our sleep. We don't want that. We want to win. And so winning is essential. And so I'll explain to you really quickly why Marco Rubio is my favorite. Go right down the top of the list, okay? One, there are 80 million at least Latinos in America right now. Let's just set all that aside. It is absolutely, without question, the fastest growing demographic in America. There's a lot of arguments as to why, like the open border and so on. But that demographic is real. That's real, right? Marco Rubio regularly goes on Univision and can do full interviews in Spanish and can speak to those people and connect as a first-generation immigrant himself. Okay? Marco Rubio has run for president before and was a staunch ally with Donald Trump. He is the ranking member on the Intel Committee in the Senate. So I might say that's a really bad thing. I would argue that's a really good thing to protect Donald Trump's flank from these people. You could also look at Marco Rubio and say, hold on just a second. Like, this guy was ushered in with the Tea Party movement. He has not betrayed us in the Senate. He has been a stern and staunch ally of Donald Trump. And he's somebody who is younger, who like is just not Mike Pence, who is about as exciting as the paste inside of the tube of toothpaste, but like toothpaste that's not like the sparkly unicorn flavor, like the toothpaste that's like the plain white toothpaste from 1800s. All right, that was sold with the Coke bottle that still had cocaine in it. Now that's exciting. The toothpaste like is Mike Pence. It's white bread. Like Marco Rubio is more dynamic, is more interesting. I've worked with him behind the scenes. I'm not saying this. I don't know. I can't call Marco Rubio. I'm not his best friend. I'm just saying this. If you run the numbers, that Marco Rubio, like versus Kamala Harris, like, are you kidding me? Nobody likes Kamala. Kamala Harris' own husband doesn't like Kamala Harris. Nobody likes Kamala. Joe Biden don't like Kamala Harris. Nobody likes Kamala Harris. Black people certainly don't like Kamala Harris. I go and I talk with black people on the show. We do videos about it. I ask them what their favorite thing about Kamala Harris is. Nobody can say anything. Nobody knows anything. Kamala Harris is not a net positive for Joe Biden. She's a humiliation. Whereas Marco Rubio, I think, could actually effectively message Donald Trump's America First policies to the people that are in America, the fastest growing demographic, which are Latinos in this country, make up to at least 20% of the country right now. And I think that's smart strategically. So that's my take on this. And I think that that's why, and this is what finally pushed me over the edge, and I did a video on this last week. What pushed me over the edge is that Donald Trump went and met with Ron DeSantis. Now, many people are like, yeah, unity, Ron DeSantis. Could it be Ron DeSantis as VP? Give me a break. No. But what does that mean as it pertains to Marco Rubio as a selection? Ron DeSantis is the guy who would replace Marco Rubio in the Senate. So the governor of Florida would pick the next senator. And I think that was actually the horse trade there. So Trump picks Marco Rubio runs with Trump, and then Ron DeSantis gets a Senate pick, which is a very powerful thing to get, right? Red state, red governor. He can like Ron DeSantis can put up anyone he wants. That's when it finally clicked for me. Okay, I said that's it. Race called. It's gonna be Marco. So I started digging into the numbers, started digging into the data, and that's what makes me like side effectively with Marco Rubio there. All right, so that's what I see the landscape as right now. You may or may not agree with it. You may think it's a horrible choice. I'm not saying it's the best choice. I've been very public with you about like what I want, like what I really wanted as a VP candidate, but there it is, okay? There it is. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio got asked about being VP this weekend. So Marco Rubio, who's been not really on camera that much as of late, suddenly starting to do all these interviews. And then he has this answer when asked about becoming Donald Trump's VP. Let's go.
You're in Florida. You're spending time with President Trump. Everyone says you're on his VP shortlist, but that there may be a technical glitch with having two people from the same state when it comes down to an electoral college vote. Would you leave the state of Florida or change your residency if you were asked to join the ticket?
Well, first of all, the vice presidential choice for Donald Trump is going to be made by one person, and that's Donald Trump. And all this other stuff is just speculation. And I get it. You know, political reporters have to cover political topics. The primary is over. The general's 6 months away. So they're going to speculate on the VP thing. Here's the good news. And I saw it this weekend. The amount of talent that we have in the Republican Party is extraordinary. He doesn't just have a bunch of choices for VP. He has a bunch of choices for cabinet. He's going to have an extraordinary group of talented people that can serve this country in multiple roles. And that's a decision he's going to have to make. And I would just say, forget leaving me aside for a moment. I think that before anyone decides to move from their state, you better make sure you move to a state where there's not some DA that makes a career after going after Republicans. Because what we're seeing all over the country right now is the weaponization of our criminal justice system, not just to go after Donald Trump, which is now well documented, right? You have a Biden supporting judge, a Biden prosecutor in the most liberal county in America on ridiculous charges. And the rest of the world is watching that saying, you know, this is the stuff that America used to sanction other countries for doing.
Okay.
Well, it's happening here in America. But I think that that's something that we need to be focused on, because I do think that has an impact on people's thinking about getting into politics.
So, okay, I wanted to get to that clip because what you saw there and we have a bunch of other VP finalists that were on TV this weekend, and we're going to get to all of them. But I wanted to get to that clip. I wanted to sort of set the table of the VP conversation, because the VP conversation is really going to be somebody who has to effectively message what Marco Rubio has been saying. Marco Rubio has been a guy who's been big on Latin American communism. His family, of course, escaped Cuba, and his family knows the pains and the sufferings of communism. That's why they're in Florida. That's why he speaks Spanish. Marco Rubio is somebody who literally suffered under these, what is happening to Donald Trump right now. And what's happening right now is Stalinism. Don't let anybody else use any other word. Lawfare. Shut up. Why are we so bad at messaging? It's lawfare. No, it's not, man. It's Stalinism. Call it Stalinism. All right? Here's what happened under Stalin. Stalin was an illegitimate leader of the Soviet Union. He wasn't supposed to seize power. He was just more ruthless, immoral, evil, and demonic. This demonic, evil, immoral man, as soon as he seized power, turned all the guns, metaphorically and literally, but the guns of the courthouses and the courtrooms in the Soviet Union on his political enemies immediately. It's the first thing they did. The first thing they did. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is what it is. It's Stalinism. You got to pick a guy. This is another thing that kind of moved. I wanted to get to the Marco Rubio stuff. I want to explain myself on Marco Rubio. I got a lot of hate over it, right? Marco this, Marco that. Again, as I've told you, I've just said, it's not my first pick. Wouldn't be my first pick. But since many people are saying it's down to that list, it's time for me to start muscling in the direction of the person I think will win the most. I want to win. I must win with not enough losing gracefully. Enough controlled decline. I want to win. Marco Rubio would be a deeply effective messenger coming from communist Cuba about Stalinism, about communism, about the court systems going after their political rivals. Okay, so let's move on to the breaking news here, all right? So that's Marco Rubio. He talked about it in his interview. As soon as he was asked about the VP, he's like, hold on. What are we doing in this country? We'd sanction countries for doing this. If they were locking up their political enemies, we would sanction, as a State Department, we would sanction those countries. Now we're doing it here in America. And that is precisely what's happening. So on the heels of that news, we have from this morning, seconds ago, an order from the judge effectively telling Donald Trump that it's jail time now. It's jail time. Here we go. Judge threatens Trump with jail for future violations of his gag order. So the breaking news at time of show was that Donald Trump got another gag order violation, $1,000 chump change, right, for Trump. But the judge said, defendant is hereby put on notice that if appropriate and warranted, future violations of its lawful orders will be punishable by incarceration. We've told you many times, the point of this is to lock up Donald Trump. We've told you many times, the point of it is to lock up Trump. Okay, so we have the actual order here. Therefore, the defendant is hereby put on notice up at the top that it's incarceration. Defendant will pay a $1,000 fine for violation of the court's lawful order by close of business on May 10th. If the offending statements has been posted to the Trump's Truth Social account or his campaign website is removed, so they're ordering to remove Donald Trump's free speech. So they're fining Donald Trump's free speech, and then they're threatening to put him in prison. What world do you live in? It is Stalinist. It's not lawfare. Okay? It's not a rigged court system. It's Stalinism. All right? The Stalin trials were all about murdering all of his political enemies. That's what it was. Rigged judges, rigged courts. They weren't actual trials. They already had their conclusions. And they knew what was about to happen to them if they decided to rule against Stalin. Okay? In these kind of in failed states, the most vicious monster wins. So these people, they're just vicious monsters. Now we have an opportunity to rip power away from vicious monsters. And that's a really good thing. Because next it'll be you and your family. That's how it always goes. Once Stalin ran out of political enemies to persecute, he went on to the military. He went on through his generals. He went through all of the, all functions of society, working his way from high society all the way down to low society. And then you get to the Red Purge. You get to the Red Scare, where he just is locking up people randomly from a phone book. It's a straight up Stalin. This is a Stalin story. He would legitimately just look through the phone book and decide at random who to lock up just to keep people on their toes. And he just sent people to Gulag for fun. That's where it's headed. That's exactly where it's headed. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here's the order from the judge, the news breaking just moments ago.
Judge Merchan just said it's clear the $1,000 fine is not working. He said going forward, this court will have to consider a jail sentence. He then said the last thing I want to consider is jail. You are a former president and possibly the next president, end quote. Andy, why don't we just start right there, because he's going to assess the gag order yet again. The gag order stays, but he'll assess the fine. So I think you're up to 10, 11, maybe 14 grand. I don't know. I lost count. Andy, go ahead.
Bill, as I said to you last week, if I were Trump, I basically bring in a check for 10 grand every Monday and just say whatever I want. This is all politics at this point. I don't think the judge, I mean, it's easy for me to say because he's not going to put me in custody, but I don't think the judge, because of the politics of this, it would be disastrous politics for the Democrats, for the judge to put former President Trump in jail over this. So he'll continue to fine him. And as long as that's what it is, I think Trump should just pay the fine and otherwise say what he wants to say.
So Donald Trump is saying what he wants to say effectively outside of the court. As is our tradition on this show, we will play Donald Trump's full comments for you without interruption and obviously without editorial flagrancy, right? Like it is utterly remarkable to us that the corporate media's job now with Trump is to not just censor him on social media, which they did effectively rip him off all social media, but then to every time Trump's speaking to cut away from the live feed and then like extemporaneously try and explain what Donald Trump is saying or insult Trump. We have a million examples of this. It's why we refuse to ever do it on this program. You deserve to hear from the president, and here is the president.
To that first question, as you know, they've taken away my constitutional rights, so I'm not allowed to answer that question. This has never happened in this country before. It's a ridiculous thing. It's a ridiculous case. I did nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong. Take a look at Greg Jarrett this morning. He went on. Take a look at Andrew McCarthy or Jonathan Turley or Mark Levin. It's like they say there's no case here. And yet the judge has gagged me, and I'm not allowed to talk about, I guess, his total conflict. The judge is totally conflicted, and you ought to take a look at it. And I'm not supposed to be talking about it. But I am allowed to say that the judge has a conflict that like nobody's ever had before, and you ought to take a look at it. He's taken away my constitutional right to speak. I was in Miami this weekend, and reporters are asking me questions, the same questions like you're asking me, and I have to say I have a gag order, I can't speak about it. Never happened before, ever. Number one. Number two, it's a fake trial. They have no case, and it's been absolutely proven now. They have no case whatsoever. This is Alvin Bragg doing it for political reasons for Biden. This is a Biden trial. He's a crooked president. Now, it just came out, Columbia just canceled their commencement. Axios. Columbia just canceled their commencement. That shouldn't happen. And it also came out that the protesters, many of the protesters, are backed by Biden's donors. Okay? Are you listening, Israel? I hope you're listening, Israel. Hope you're getting smart. But they're backed by Biden donors. That's where the money's coming from. And I'm not surprised at all. There's many other articles, many of them having to do with the gag order and the unconstitutionality having to do with the gag order. And it is unconstitutional, and it shouldn't be allowed. And I wish people could move a little bit quicker, the appellate courts, because the whole world is watching this, and they see what's happening. More importantly, frankly, they have no case. They have absolutely no case. It's a political hoax. It's election interference. Anything they can do, and even the witnesses they want to bring up, they have nothing to do with the case. This is a ridiculous situation. Not fair, but we will fight. Thank you.
Mr. President, how's your defense team doing? How's the judge inflicted?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so this is what Donald Trump had to say, obviously talking about an unconstitutional gag order ripping into the judge, ripping into the trial, saying, I'm not allowed to speak on it, and then speaking on it for 2.5 minutes. So classic Trump. Maybe he should just bring a $10,000 check to the start of every single week of this trial. I was asking producer ALX, I'm like, how long is this trial going to go? And he told me 8 weeks. This is insanity. Producer ALX told me it might be 8 weeks of this trial. We are in week 3 starting today. And so people are starting as like pretty pissed off about this, quite evidently and obviously. And the longer this trial goes on, I think you're going to start like really seeing the erosion of the support of the American people. You are seeing Donald Trump clock in numbers that we have never seen before. Now, again, back to the VP. If Donald Trump is gagged on these orders, then it's really important that somebody's out there defending him and can speak on it. They're not going to gag Marco Rubio. They're not going to gag Byron Donalds. I like Byron Donalds. Big time Byron Donalds fan. I'll admit it. I'll tell you. I'll not keep anything from you. I'll tell you everything, every conversation that we have. It's my job to report back to you. It's our job to like get correct information and report back to you. I would love for Byron Donalds to be VP. Byron Donalds, complete baller. I think that Byron Donalds is going to be the next governor of Florida. That's what I believe. I think it's quite obvious, quite clear. We were at a wedding on Friday with a bunch of like Florida politicos, a bunch of like people from the Tallahassee world, right? And all these members of the House here in Florida, all these members of the Senate, the people from DeSantis' office. And the consensus there was that Byron Donalds is going to be the next governor of Florida. That's what everyone was telling me. I'm like, that's dope because I live here and because I like Byron Donalds a lot. But I also really like Byron Donalds as a surrogate for Donald Trump. He's so good on TV. He's so sharp in his critique of the Biden administration. And this weekend was absolutely no exception. Here we go.
But this weekend, he was able to go down to Mar-a-Lago for a major donor retreat featuring a handful of prospective VP possibilities. I know you were there. Congressman, talk to me about the state of the Trump campaign, considering what they're up against when your candidate can't travel, can't do events, can't fundraise, still looks like a very strong showing. What'd you see?
Well, first, the campaign is in great shape. The president is in great spirits, even though he's having to deal with these crazy Biden trials that have all been pulled together by Joe Biden and the crazy Democratic left. But look, you got to understand a couple of things. Donald Trump is he's not gonna wither under these attacks. It's only going to make him stronger. And the polling demonstrates this. We're now leading in all of the battleground states because the people are seeing that Donald Trump has the strength to stand against the radical left, and America remembers what his presidency was all about. So I would implore Americans, make sure you get out there, you vote for Donald Trump. We need strength on the world stage. We need strength here at home. Joe Biden's been a disaster of a president. And so when you were there this weekend with a lot of people supporting the president, over 400 people coming to support the president and the Republican National Committee, it demonstrates the strength and the resolve. You couple that with poll numbers and then, of course, the reality that Joe Biden, the master of disaster himself, is the very worst president our country has seen. That is why people are rallying around President Trump. He's going to be the 47th president of the United States.
Come on, man. Do you like Byron Donalds? Do you like Byron Donalds? You've obviously seen him on our program. We're boys. Do you like Byron Donalds? I'm a huge-time Byron Donalds fan. Again, let me know in the comment section. I think we should pin up. Maybe if there's I don't know how many we can pin. For a question, but let's do a live poll during the show. Who do you want? So ALX says we can pin 4. So ALX, the reporting here is that Doug Burgum, JD Vance, Marco Rubio, and Tim Scott are the final 4. That's just the report. I'm not saying it's accurate. We've heard nothing from Trump world that is accurate. Although it does seem that those guys are on the list, that's for sure. Let's pin those names up. You guys vote, okay? Vote. I look at that list and I go Marco. I look at that list. I put all the weight against like all of the demographic information, all of the past political information, and everything that Donald Trump said. Donald Trump has said one thing consistently in every interview about VP. One thing. He said, it's somebody you're gonna know. It's somebody you gotta know him. You're gonna love him. It's good. I think I already know. Donald Trump was saying this before the Iowa caucuses. I think I already know who it's gonna be. It's somebody you're going to know. It's not going to be too surprising, which is what makes you think like, all right, as much as I love Tucker and Vivek, it's not going to be that. You know, it's not going to be like the Candace Owens selection, right? As awesome as that would be, it's not going to be Candace Owens, okay? It's not going to be somebody super. It's going to be somebody that you know. Well, who's somebody that we know? I mean, Marco Rubio has been in the Senate for over a decade. Run for president. He's been ubiquitous on TV. He obviously somebody that like everyone knows that name. I mean, super high name ID. I think you talk to if you go to a Republican household and you say, "Do you know who Marco Rubio is?" Everyone would be like, "Yeah, totally." Generally, right? Am I wrong? So this sort of like really aligns with a lot of what Donald Trump's saying. Is Doug Burgum one of those people? Nobody knows who the hell Doug Burgum is. And I think Marco Rubio is like better than Tim Scott, to be quite honest with you. But if there is a second choice there, it'd be J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is just such a sharp cookie, man. He's just so good. J.D. Vance was out on TV this weekend in studio with Fox, asked about the VP choice, and we like Vance. He's number 2 on the list. He's my number 2, all right? He's my number 2. Make sure you vote in our poll, and make sure you let us know in the comment section who you like. We read the comments, and they really... Here's a good example of this real quickly. I thought that it'd be Vivek versus Tucker, maybe. There was a time when those names were being floated like crazy. According to Glenn Beck, Vivek's the only name he heard for months. Donald Trump tells Glenn Beck that Vivek's the only name that anybody ever told him to pick for VP, all right? We did a poll, and like 80% of the people wanted Vivek instead of Tucker. So that surprised me. I thought it'd be more like 50-50. So let's see what the poll is. We'll do the results at the end of the show today. Okay, here we go. ALX says the poll is set, and so go and vote. Let us know. J.D. Vance is a superstar in the making, an epic senator from Ohio already, doing great work. Here's what he had to say about being VP.
Are you being vetted? Are you having conversations about joining the ticket?
You know, I talked to President Trump a lot. We're very close. I've never spoken to him about being vice president, so I assume that a lot of this is media speculation. Of course, if he asked me, I'd have to think seriously about it because I think it's really important that he win. The world is on fire, and I sort of see Donald Trump as a bit of a fireman.
Okay. Thanks so much.
The world's on fire and Donald Trump's fireman. It's a great line. Fantastic line. Everybody likes to listen to JD Vance. Like, you get more intelligent listening to the guy. He's really a smart cookie. Tim Scott was asked. Tim Scott was the guy who was trotted out to go on like corporate leftist TV. So he was on NBC. And Tim Scott, who did a great job on NBC, sort of like blowing up the talking points, was asked about being VP. And so here's Tim Scott from that short list, all right, that's presumably been reported. Here's what Scott had to say.
With Donald Trump. But just to be very clear, it didn't come up at all? Do you think you're on the short list?
No, ma'am, it did not come up. African American unemployment rate is 6.4 today.
But what about being VP? What about being President Trump's VP? Did it come up at all? Do you think you're on the short list?
I hope that the president will choose a person who helps the country unite and heal. I certainly expect to have a decision from President Trump in the next 60 days or so, but he did not bring it up. I certainly didn't bring it up. I'm excited that in this nation, a poor kid from South Carolina could rise to the level of being a United States Senator. It just tells me that all things are possible for kids growing up in poverty today. Listen to this show and know that all things are possible for your future.
Okay, I mean, Tim Scott does this kind of pedantic campaign sloganeering. And so, whatever. Whatever. This is the job. So everybody who was on the VP shortlist did TV this weekend. Every single one of them did the same thing. Demurred when asked about it. All right? Now, Tim Scott has been on stage. And one of my favorite moments of Tim Scott on stage with Donald Trump was like razzing him over being picked by Nikki Haley for the Senate. And Tim Scott had this reaction.
Did you ever think that she actually appointed you, Tim? And think of it, appointed, and you're the senator of his state, and she endorsed me. You must really hate her. No, it's a shame. It's a shame. Uh-oh.
I just love you.
No, that's why he's a great politician.
I just love you. Again, we followed these things. We've done the math. We think it's Rubio. We think it's Rubio. The DeSantis meeting is what made me say, it's Rubio. Because DeSantis would get to a point. And so you got to make sure that you guys, like, that's a horse trade. There it is. This is a Stormy Daniels level horse trade. Okay? Boom. DeSantis gets to a point. You're gonna work with DeSantis. There's a big fat pick for DeSantis. Here's Donald Trump effectively on his VP shortlist. This is from a couple of weeks ago. But Donald Trump, like, listing, you could see he's already buttering up Ron DeSantis on this. So this is why I think we already got it figured out. Here's Donald Trump on his VP shortlist. He's been using this line sort of for a long time. And you can watch the process actually play out already here from even months ago. We didn't know what we were seeing at the time, but now it makes sense.
The audience has been asked who they think would be a good choice, and various names came up. One of them was, of course, Vivek Ramaswamy. Yeah. He's made a big splash. Ron DeSantis, who's making an appearance today in South Carolina, we just found out. Obviously, Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, and a big presence here for Tulsi Gabbard. Very interesting. And Kristi Noem as well, I should say. Right. Are they all on your short list? And when can we expect that you will announce your choice?
The one thing that always surprises me is that the VP choice has absolutely no impact. It's whoever the president is. It just seems. I remember when Sarah Palin was actually picked, and she did have a big up, and then they just went after her at a level that nobody's seen. The Republicans themselves went after what they did.
But you'll be a one-term president because you've already served, so you can only serve for one term, although they say you'll never leave office. I assume that you'll never leave. There'll never be another election
don't
again.
Do it. He'll never leave. He's never going. Oh, these people.
No, these people. It's really interesting. We didn't realize what we were seeing at the time. We all said, Ron DeSantis, what the hell is that about? What do you mean Ron DeSantis is on the short list? Yeah, right. Just buttering him up. That's what I personally believe. I think that it's going to be Rubio. I think the numbers really work out. I think that Donald Trump's seen Rubio perform on stage. There's this really interesting exchange where Rubio versus Ted Cruz and Donald Trump standing in the middle. And you can see Donald Trump from 2016. You can see Trump being like, very interesting, right? Looking at Marco Rubio. Some people said it could be Marco Rubio in 2016. But that whole setup was so that Ron DeSantis gets skin in the game, and Donald Trump is going to be able to horse trade negotiate the Senate pick. That's what I think. Rubio drops out, potentially changes residency, and then runs with Donald Trump. That's what I believe. That's what I personally believe. So there's reporting from Axios that we think it's pretty shocking here. And actually, we don't know if this. Apparently, this reporter got audio of Donald Trump the entire time that these people were doing the Veep stakes on stage. And so let's go really, really quickly here through this. And then I'm really excited to talk to Kash Patel about the gag order and about the this weaponized Department of Justice. It's just unbelievable, and he's the best person to talk to about it. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Gotta touch on this. Apparently, this reporter got audio of Trump live while these people are talking and what he says about each candidate. Senator Marco Rubio. His name is coming up a lot for vice president. The only person who Donald Trump said the words vice president about. Well, what does that mean? I'll leave it for you to decide. Senator Tim Scott. The candidate did a good job. As a surrogate, he's unbelievable. That's also a very powerful thing. Again, as you heard in the last clip, this person is going to have to make Trump's case for Trump and also going to have to defend Trump when he's gagged on these gag orders. It's got to be good. Senator J.D. Vance. He wasn't a supporter of mine at the very beginning. Anyways, I got to know him a little bit. Non-politicians. He's become one of the greatest senators. Very nice compliment. Mike Lee, I love your haircut. He's a good man, too. We said that to Mike Lee on Friday when he was on the show. Marsha Blackburn. When she ran in 2018, she was like the Energizer Bunny. She'd go from stop to stop to stop. Doug Burgum. I didn't know this. He was a supporter of mine in 2 campaigns. He's a very rich man. Okay. I mean, guess. But not that. Is that what you'd say about your number one VP pick? I don't think so. I don't buy the whole Doug Burgum thing. Governor Kristi Noem, somebody that I love. She's been with me, supporter of mine, supporter of hers for a long time. Elise Stefanik, very smart person. She was in upstate New York. When I met her, I didn't know she'd be such a big factor. Byron Donalds, somebody who's created something very, very special politically. I like diversity. Diversité. This is how you know the recording's probably accurate, because these are jokes that Donald Trump would make on stage. Diversité, as you would say. I like diversité. Worth millions of dollars. donors worth millions of dollars all want a piece of Byron. Okay, so what he's talking about is how Byron's stock is rising, and we agree with that, obviously. Wesley Hunt, another friend of mine, makes the best commercials. Beautiful family. Finally, Representative Mike Waltz, a man who knows more about the military. When I want to know about the military, I call him. So who's the only person that Donald Trump described as the vice president? It's Marco Rubio. Again, this is my contention. We'll give you further data. There's a poll available. Please vote in the poll. We'll give you further data as it comes in. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, turning to the one person who we would want to talk to on said issues, who we would like to speak to about these things, and who we regularly speak to on these issues using our Patriot Mobile device. Ladies and gentlemen, Patriot Mobile is the device that powers our company. Patriot Mobile is the device that keeps us running and operating at this at this company and at this business. And it is so important to obviously not fund the left when you are using your cellular device. There's only a certain number of things that you can choose, factors you can choose to not fund the left. Your cell phone is one of them. All right? Your cell phone's one of them. I'm not sure you can choose like sneakers. We might be working on that, actually. We might be working on that. I'm not sure you can choose sneakers and not fund the left. I'm not sure. I don't know. I know I don't wear Nikes anymore. I know I don't drink Starbucks. But ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to fund the people who want to destroy free speech when you're speaking freely on your phone. Go switch to Patriot Mobile. The most accurate, dependable, solid customers. I got to tell you, man, we use them everywhere. Switch today, patriotmobile.com/Benny, or call 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation today when you use the offer code Benny. Make the switch today. Patriot Mobile is an awesome company. It keeps us powered when we are on the road. We love them. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody else that we love is, of course, a man who is allowed to speak freely, unless it's classified information. We've been trying to get him to tell us classified information. He won't do it. He's too good. He's too good, but he's not gagged while Donald Trump is in court. And so we're bringing on Kash Patel. I don't think you're gagged. I don't know. I'm not sure. Has a judge gagged you, Kash?
No, I have to go back and check all the subpoenas from Jack Smith and company to see what those actually say. But other than that, I think I can talk.
Okay. So we got this massive order today from the judge. We just read it live on air. And he's like, I'm going to lock you up. Do it again. I'm going to lock you up. This isn't working. I'm going to put you in jail. Now, many people are saying this would be the greatest single gift ever to Donald Trump electorally. And that Democrats are so unbelievably over their skis on this thing. And that the recent polling, which we also went through earlier in the show, is eroding horribly for Joe Biden. Is this all backfiring? Would they actually put him in jail? You've been in the courtroom for many, many hearings like this. Talk us through it, Kash.
Look, I think, obviously, I never want my former and current boss to be in prison, especially for doing something that is completely constitutional and calling out unconstitutional activities of the state judicial process in New York, that is the Biden trials in New York City with Alvin Bragg. But here's the thing. Right now, he's being fined for contempt violations, which is totally bogus because it violates the free speech clause of the First Amendment. But let's go with the, lunatic judge. And he's saying $1,000, $1,000. That's a civil matter. Should this judge actually hold Donald Trump in contempt and put him in jail, that is a deprivation of liberty that is immediately appealable to not only the New York appellate courts, but the highest court in New York State. Now, I think even as rigged of a system that this is, that one of those courts would overturn Donald Trump's contempt proceeding and send of the lower court Judge Merchan by sending him to jail. So I think the judge is serious when he says, I want to put him in prison. I think he does. I think he wants him in prison yesterday, last month, a year ago. He wants this guy off the campaign trail. It's clear it's a vindictive prosecution being hustled along by a cooperative conspiratorial judge whose daughter is making millions of dollars out of that information coming out of his courtroom. He doesn't care about any of that. But he might not take that last step of putting him in prison because though it'll have the immediate impact he wants, it might backfire even more. And I agree. The whole thing's backfiring. So this might be the coup de grace of backfires.
That's kind of that's a very interesting point that you make, that this would then immediately be appealed. Would that rip the entire trial away from this judge? I mean, would there be a way to actually, would that then nuke this entire how would that work?
It would happen pretty fast. Those types of things in this type of situation would move through that. It's a pretty small issue. It's like, is he in contempt or isn't he? And how long am I going to hold him in contempt? Am I sending the guy to jail for a day, or are you just sending him to jail for 6 months or until the trial's over or something like that? That would require some immediate action. And look, I don't know that I necessarily have faith in the New York State judicial system, but I got to believe there's one judge in the state of New York, at least at the appellate level, that believes in the Constitution. Just one. And maybe we can draw that guy.
Okay. You would effectively assume that since Donald Trump is running for federal office, that federal courts would then have a say in this, would they not?
They have a say not in the contempt. Yes, ultimately, yes. The contempt order would have to go to state court because it's a contempt order from state court. So it'd have to go to the state appellate system. Since it's a free speech First Amendment federal issue, you can appeal. And I think they have, if I'm correct, they've already started the process, Trump's counsel, about putting that in the appellate process based on First Amendment grounds. I think you have to exhaust state court stuff first, and then you get to go into federal court, unless there's a direct issue. And I'm not the pro on this one that gets you quickly into federal court and a quick answer. Could be, but I'm just not sure.
So we have a 4-foot-tall Donald Trump mugshot hanging in our studio. I wrapped some of my Christmas presents with Donald Trump wrapping paper from his campaign website with the mugshot. What are you doing? Do they realize how stupid they are? Are we really just dealing with such low IQ people? I mean, I've watched Alvin Bragg wobble in like he's a slob with his Dunkin' Donuts, like slobbering and slabbing all over the place. Like, are these people really just such slobs, such degenerate goofs that they don't understand what they're doing? They don't understand what putting Trump in prison would do to the guy?
How dare you? Alvin Bragg is buying his breakfast at Dunkin' Donuts and not Starbucks. He must be a man of the people. Maybe he should try the low-fat version. But listen, I think with this guy Bragg, or what's his boss's name, Letitia, whatever, James, or the ladies and the lovers down in Georgia, or whatever they're doing in Arizona, they don't care about the law. And here's the thing. They're not stupid. It's dismissive if some people are just like, oh, they're all idiots. They're just evil. They're actually smart. To a certain degree. I think Alvin Bragg is probably moderate intelligence, but he's evil. And this judge, I think, is actually probably pretty smart, is also evil. And they've joined forces like the evil empire to say, what is our mutual goal? The assured destruction of Donald Trump. One way or the other, we're going to get this guy. If I'm going to convict him, if I'm going to hold him in contempt, if I'm going to fine him, if I'm going to gag him, if I'm going to extend this trial out through the entire summer, if it need be. And watch this move, right? I've already seen the trial days get shortened. I've seen them take afternoons off. Wednesday, they don't have a trial. I see these people going in and out running this courtroom calendar as if it were some sort of school calendar for elementary kids. So I think they're going to extend this trial out as much as they can, because what do they want? Trump in court under a gag order, not saying anything.
Yes. So how long could it go? I mean, like Alex told me, it may go 8 weeks. Like I have it scheduled for 8 weeks.
You can have a trial. Listen, I tried. Let's see, as a federal public defender and state public defender and prosecutor, I think I tried 60 jury trials to verdict. I had a 21 co-defendant narco trafficking conspiracy out of Colombia that I tried in 2 weeks with 21 co-defendants. Just to give you a little bit of an idea that I was flying people in from Colombia to testify in federal court in South Florida. So you can move really fast when you want to. You can also move extremely slow because there's no one that can tell the judge how to adjudicate his calendar. If he's like, well, we're going to take witness testimony for like an hour today, and then I'll see you next week, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. So they haven't even started that bag of tricks yet. Then they can go to the jurors, who are probably also likely in the bag for their anti-constitutional regime, and say, oh, do you have a holiday? Do you have somewhere you need to go? We're going to take the rest of the week off. This juror can't sit for 3 days. I think stuff like that is probably coming as they realize they're going to start to lose this case more and more and more and more in the public. So their goal will be just delay this thing out and keep Trump under a gag order throughout the summer. That's what I think they might be starting to realize is their best way to get Donald Trump. Now, I think it'll continue to backfire.
It's so remarkably rigged, and I'm getting so exhausted litigating this thing, because the moment you like look at the actual evidence, you're like, this is just so breathtakingly stupid. And also, I mean, I guess you could go this angle. Hillary Clinton also had a FEC violation that the FEC actually charged her with, that she got fined hundreds of thousands of dollars for the payment of the Russian dossier. We heard endlessly, on an endless loop, the Comey rule. You can't charge presidential candidates. Where the hell has that gone? So for decades, like still to this very day, there are like, there are leftists sitting in a circle with a half-finished, lukewarm bottle of Chardonnay, a bottle of Xanax, like screaming and crying and rending their garments because Hillary Clinton was charged or investigated while she was running for president.
No, look, you bring up a great point. And I'm the guy that found out that Hillary used campaign dollars illegally, by the way, not just an FEC violation. Hillary Clinton used $10 million worth of campaign dollars, hid it under Perkins Coie legal funding labels, and then went out and had Perkins Coie and Fusion GPS go out and hire Christopher Steele to write the dossier. It is illegal to use publicly campaign-funded donations for political purposes, which she hid as a legal donation. Donald Trump used his own money for actual legal purposes and is being charged for a non-crime. This is a two-tier system of justice gone rogue. And you brought up the Comey rule, and this is a perfect example of a complete DOJ fiction. Where I used to work in the National Security Division, we have a rule, we have a tradition that says we don't prosecute people during this time or that time. I was like, where does that say in the Constitution? This is the Department of Justice. We act on tradition. And where is this Comey rule fiction coming from? He works for us, not the other way around. And of course, they let him take over the Department of Justice when it came to the Clinton investigation because he wanted to run the entire show. Then he didn't expect to get caught about lying to a federal judge to illegally surveil a political candidate that he also personally hated. So these people are still around, and they've learned from their treachery. Jack Smith has just been exposed by Judge Cannon of doing what? Lying to a federal court. These guys keep doing it. The judge just unsealed documents in the Jack Smith case down in Florida, which says the prosecutors themselves have admitted to tampering with evidence, to moving the very boxes from one location outside of D.C. to South Florida before they ever even charged Donald Trump. How in the world can you not be prosecuting and charging these constitutional gangsters that are at DOJ? And they learn it from the same place, the top down, the same AGs, the same DAGs, the same FBI directors who are cheering them on. I hope Judge Cannon, he's an actual fun legal thing that should actually be occurring. Judge Cannon should be implementing actual contempt proceedings against Jack Smith and the Department of Justice for lying to a federal judge and withholding evidence of exclusion and innocence from Donald Trump. Those contempt proceedings would be righteous, and I'd like to see those. Maybe we could put Jack Smith in prison.
Well, I mean, listen, the guy's already gotten his ass kicked 9-0 at the Supreme Court for the exact same scam against Bob McDonnell. So we did a special last week. You inspired it, actually. Your post on Truth Social inspired it about the documents being effectively planted at Mar-a-Lago. I'm really glad we get a chance to go here. Yeah. So we did this sort of breakdown about McDonnell versus the United States, right? The Supreme Court case that is how Jack Smith sort of made a name for himself, appointed by Eric Holder to take out Barack Obama's number one political adversary, arguably, in the 2012 election. Right. And so Bob McDonnell was this rising, up-and-coming Republican governor of Virginia. Jack Smith was brought in as a hatchet man by Eric Holder, who's still running the DOJ, to come in and destroy him. And he got reversed over what? Like immunity. It's incredible. It's the same thing. He got reversed by the Supreme Court because they're like, you can't define, like taking a call isn't an official act. Like, what do you mean? Like you have no definitions here. So Bob McDonnell, sure, took calls in meetings. That's not criminal. And you have no way to prove that. And he got flipped on a liberal court. A liberal court flipped it 9-0. And so we covered that last week in the buildup to like them running this operation round 2. Right. And all it did destroy Bob McDonnell's political career. That was the end result. The end result was the destruction of this man's potential to run against Barack Obama. So do the same thing again, and I'd love to have you expand on this because you know so much more than we do. But what they're effectively doing is they had all of Trump's documents. I mean, am I reading this right? We read your post live, of course, last week. They had all the documents, Kash? And then the FBI is like, please take them, like shoving them into Mar-a-Lago. And then raiding Mar-a-Lago for those documents. Can you unpack this for us?
Look, it's not the first time this has happened. Like you said, Bob McDonald, right? Russiagate. Again, Donald Trump was a target there, and we'll get to Donald Trump here in a second. But they also did it to the former senator from the state of Alaska, who tragically ended up dying. And the DOJ was caught withholding evidence of innocence. The prosecutors did that to the guy that preceded Murkowski. I can't remember his name, but the U.S. senator from Alaska. And one of his staffers, or somebody in the government, actually committed suicide as a result of those unconstitutional charges. These are real things. But I bring this out not just to highlight the tragedy, but the repeated pattern of political, hijacking by the Justice Department for serving a political need. And now we get to Donald Trump's case down in the Mar-a-Lago case. So I was a representative, one of two human beings on earth that was Donald Trump's representatives to NARA, the librarians, the National Archives. And after we left the administration, the Trump administration in January of 2021. And what's supposed to happen is the librarians are supposed to service the documents of the former president to be released to the American people, as they've been doing for 240, 50 years, whatever the number is. And so I said, hey, Mr. Librarian, can we please have the documents that Donald Trump declassified and everything else that the American public are entitled to? And the chief lawyer over there, this guy named Gary Stern, has now been outed by his own emails. Remember, the best evidence of their own corruption is their stuff. This guy says, oh, Mr. Patel, you don't have a security clearance. It's kind of hilarious since I have the highest one in the world, but we'll put that aside. Then it's like, oh, I got to talk to this guy. I got to talk to that guy. I got to talk to this guy. So for like a year, we get this runaround. So of course, and then they're like, we don't even really know where the stuff is. We don't know what you're talking about. What does Judge Cannon do? What does she do last week? She unseals documents that were cleverly asked for by Donald Trump's defense attorney, saying, Judge, we need these unredacted and shown to the world because we have a suspicion of what's underneath them. What did they find out? That Jack Smith's DOJ, Biden White House, and NARA were in direct communication when the requested documents in question were asked to be released. And Gary Stern wrote to Biden's White House chief counsel and two of the senior most attorneys at the Department of Justice saying, what do I do here? And they, the DOJ and the White House counsel, responded essentially, give them the Heisman. Don't believe me? Go read Judge Cannon's orders with the emails from the Biden White House, the DOJ, and the NARA guy, Gary Stern. This is a perfect example of what the Biden administration has architected, a two-tier system of justice that they have directed. And remember, they lied about it. Biden said, we have nothing to do with these prosecutions. Oh, the White House counsel is not talking to anybody. DOJ is an independent body. They're not talking to anybody. They're all coordinating with NARA. And that became the crux that launched the Donald Trump prosecution. And the second piece of it, real quick, that what Judge Cannon also found out and unredacted and unsealed and sent to the world was, where were these boxes of personal papers that Donald Trump had? They were in the possession of Joe Biden's GSA, government services agencies. They do general government work. What do you mean? Where is that? Oh, that's in Washington, D.C. Well, when were the boxes there? After the president, Donald Trump, left the office. So they were sitting there for months. And then the GSA, the Biden GSA, calls Trump down to Mar-a-Lago, not him directly, but his team, and says, come get this stuff. Then Jack Smith, as a result of the NARA-funded operation by DOJ and Biden's White House, and the GSA shipping boxes down to Mar-a-Lago, Jack Smith goes and says, well, it wasn't illegal for everyone else to possess these documents. It became illegal in transit, so we're going to go after you, Donald Trump. I would love an answer for that.
I just want to burrow down because you've obviously held some of the highest. You hold some of the highest clearances. You really understand how these systems work. But for somebody like me who's just looking from the outside, 35,000 foot perspective. So the government was in possession of all of the illegal or classified documents that they raided Trump for. Is that correct? Yes?
We have per Judge Cannon's unsealing, that seems to be the case. The problem is Jack Smith's DOJ is withholding the rest of the information. So what we now know is at least a chunk of the boxes are the ones that were held by GSA. And in the normal course of government, they would hold them all. It's not like they'd say, we're taking this and not that. So that's what I believe happened. And Jack Smith's problem is now he's been caught saying, we don't know what documents were in which boxes. That's per Jack Smith's own admission. We, the DOJ, lied to you, Judge. They just filed this on Friday night because that's what they do. They were like, no one's paying attention Friday night. All the libs are at some rich person's happy hour. And so basically, I don't trust this guy. This guy first initiated this unconstitutional prosecution, rigged the system with Joe Biden and NARA, and then had the boxes sent down to Mar-a-Lago. And now he's telling us, Jack Smith is telling us, I actually don't know which papers were in which boxes. So I'm not sure what to do here, Judge. We just wanted to let you know. Well, you know what? I don't believe you for a second. That's criminal. You should be prosecuted. You should be held in contempt of court, Jack Smith. You should go to prison. In that case, should be tossed.
Amazing. So our breakdown, our very simple breakdown of this is correct, though. The government has had a large portion of the boxes. They literally shut for like a year. Mm-hmm. Then they demanded they all be moved down to Donald Trump's home. They demanded that they shove the boxes into Trump's house, and then Trump gets raided. How is that not a criminal setup?
Right. And then remember the WhatsApp warrant, and they're saying, where they unredact my name, but they redacted the rest of the warrant because they wanted to throw gasoline on a fire and say, oh my God, Kash Patel's involved. And then Judge Cannon actually unredacted the rest of what was around my name. And do you know what was around it? A Breitbart article that I did an interview for. That was publicly available information. Very highly classified stuff. You can't have that out there in the ether. They just want to gaslight the whole thing. So, before I make a definitive decision, I think I know where this is going. I hope Judge Cannon continues down this track because I need a little bit more information before we legally conclude what happens. But we now know what has been politically occurring the entire time. We also know Donald Trump's constitutional rights have been violated, at least in some form in terms of due process with this prosecution by Jack Smith. So Judge Cannon, I think she's done a fantastic job. And I think she's the only jurist in modern history here with Donald Trump to actually apply the Constitution. So I hope and I think we need her to keep doing that. And then maybe we could get one person at Congress. After I sent out that Truth Social, I think I included in that one. I said, is there any one person who is willing to send one subpoena? You just found out that the deep state, who did Russiagate, who did Jan 6, who did 51 Intel letter, who did all of the Trump prosecutions and gave Joe Biden a hall pass and gave Hillary Clinton a hall pass way back when, has done the same exact thing and buried evidence of innocence and set up the very target they want to take down by using a two-tier system of justice. Where is anybody in Congress sending one subpoena for Jack Smith to show up tomorrow and testify, to demand the documents tomorrow and unredact them and show them to the American public? Where is anyone? We, the American taxpayers, are funding this through our taxpayer dollars that go to DOJ and FBI, and our representatives in D.C. in the swamp are permitting it. I don't know who I'm more pissed off at.
I guess the implosion. I guess I haven't seen since Russiagate an implosion of a larger narrative. You have to rewind the clock. You have to have a good memory. But I remember the articles about the nuclear codes being shoved down Trump's pants. Right, the idea was that Trump smuggled these things out of the White House on his person, and shove in Melania's unmentionables. He was stealing this stuff from the White. It couldn't be more untrue. It was it's like a creation. All of it. It's Bob McDonnell 2.0. It's Russiagate 2.0. They've just made a narrative. They've just created a narrative to try and smear the guy and destroy his political career. But I don't actually think it's working. There's one thing. Yeah, please.
Sorry. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. For all the naysayers out there, CNN, MSNBC, and all the people that continue to make up how the Constitution works. Let's say that Donald Trump wasn't set up by the Biden Department of Justice that we just saw. Let's say Donald Trump didn't have attorneys at NARA coordinating with the White House counsel. Let's say Donald Trump did not have Joe Biden revoke presidential privilege for the first time in U.S. history to allow this prosecution to take place. Let's say the GSA didn't send the boxes down to Mar-a-Lago. Let's say everything lands in Judge Cannon's courtroom after Jack Smith brings his prosecution. And the only paperwork we look at is Jack Smith. Judge, we mishandled the evidence in the case. I can't tell you which document goes in which box, meaning I can't tell you where it was found. As a former national security prosecutor and public defender, that's it. The case is over. You literally just admitted to tampering with evidence, and now you want the court and the American public to believe, even though we lied to you, withheld evidence, shuffled it around, believe us on everything else, we'll fix it, everything's okay, nothing to see here. Forget everything else you and I talked about, which has all now been proven true. Now you have the prosecutor himself bending the knee and saying, pretty please, let me continue. And it would be unconstitutional for him to continue this charade.
I mean, that's bombshell stuff. I look forward to this going absolutely thermonuclear. And when we clip that out, Kash. Final thing though that has been such a mystery to me that I gotta ask because it keeps getting brought back up.
Yeah,
this missing CIA binder. What the hell's going on with that thing? Like, is that a setup? Is that fake story? I don't know. And I've never really like just gone out and just stripped all the meat off the bone and asked, is that a fake story? Did the CIA really lose their binder? Like, what's going on there? Is that part of the setup? Do they shove that in Trump's documents and then ship it down to Mar-a-Lago? What's going on?
I think I need some clarification. So when you say CIA binder, are you talking about
the Russiagate interference in the 2016 election missing binder that we keep seeing headline about? In sort of like,
it's not missing. Listen, we worked on that when we were at Russiagate, and all I can tell you, since it's still classified, is basically we put 2,000 man hours into the people that created what John Brennan ordered be done in 2 weeks, was the ICA, the Intelligence Community Assessment. What we said was we want to investigate how you came to such definitive conclusions in 2 weeks that Vladimir Putin basically rigged the entire American electoral system. So we went in and did interviews, and we went in and looked at documents. And what did we do? We wrote a report, and we wrote multiple versions of it. And we said, this needs to be released. And it got buried by Adam Smith when the House flipped back then, so we couldn't get it out. Then when Donald Trump came to office and I became Deputy Director of National Intelligence, and later when Johnny Ratcliffe became DNI, great guy, he tried to get that out, that document binder, whatever you want to call it, that memorandum. Let's just go with that. And do you know who stopped it? Gina Haspel, the very lady that authored Russiagate while being chief of station in London, who authorized the FBI to come in and conduct and begin the Russiagate scam, because that's under the law. She has to do that. Why would she do that? What does she have to hide? Why is Gina Haspel currently working at Chris Wray's old law firm as a senior advisor and national security official making 7 figures? How about, why does Rod Rosenstein also work there? The guy that signed the illegal warrant to surveil Donald Trump and said he would wear a wire under the 25th Amendment because Andy McCabe, the deputy director, asked him to. These people are all connected. And that the reason they don't want that document out is because if you thought the Nunes memo was a scorcher, this thing nukes the entire game. And it's not lost. It's in a skiff. It's in a room. Everybody knows where it is. It's been there forever. And Gina Haspel came in with the likes of Cipollone and all the other Trump haters and scared everybody into saying, oh, you can't release this. You know, it will end the world. Remember the Nunes memo was going to end the world. Britain would stop talking to us. America would be under fire. The Five Eyes would be like, you guys are lunatics. You don't know what you're doing. No, we just exposed the biggest corruption scandal of our lifetime and probably U.S. history. We just didn't get that last segment, that last binder or memo out. And, you know, it needs to come out. And Congress, once again, they've seen it. Not all of them, a couple of them. Why don't you put it out? Congress actually has the lawful authority to take that document and say, we are releasing it for the American public. They have that power.
Wow. So this is the missing piece in Russiagate.
It is the missing, final 17 chapters, and we need the 18th to come out. And that's this memo, right? It is, in my opinion, done professionally. And we had career people do it. I don't even know what their politics were. Literally, that's what they did for 6 months. And it was just like the Russiagate investigation. Interviews, documentations from the IC, all that stuff was looked at, analyzed, biases, who told you to do what, were there any orders, and all that was put in one place to say, this is what John Brennan ordered the IC to do. These are our findings on why that is or is not a good thing. And these are the people that did it. And this is what we determined their credibility to be based on X, Y, and Z. I think it's something the American people would want to know, because what happened at the end of the what happened at the end of the Obama administration? Brennan, who's been caught lying to Congress under oath and illegally surveilling Senate staffers for one, and called Donald Trump I don't know, everything you can call him, is the guy that authored this thing. He ordered it. He basically said, we're doing this in 2 weeks. You can't do that kind of intel lift in 2 weeks. It's impossible. So it was only right of us to go in there and say, maybe you got it right, but there's a chance you got it wrong. And since now we know what happened with the Nunes memo and the FBI and DOJ at FISA and the court there, what do you think happened with that ICA report?
I sleep well at night. I sleep like a baby, actually, all things considered, knowing that you're advising Trump on staff selections for his next term. However, I can't imagine a more serious choice than the CIA director, the attorney general, right? The people who are going to have to un-F this system, because the system is totally and entirely broken. And we can't have a country if nobody trusts the Justice Department. We can't have a country if nobody trusts federal law enforcement. We can't have a country if everyone thinks that the CIA and the tools of espionage that we fund are turned on the American people. It doesn't work. It won't work, right? It won't work. We'll descend into a Stalinist level, like red purge, red scare chaos.
No,
and
I think
we're already here. And so you are advising Donald Trump. You're very close. Like the final question, I know it's a big one, Kash, but it's final question. How do you unwind this nightmare, right? How do you un-F this system?
You go buy the best-selling book, Government Gangsters, and watch the movie, which is coming out in 4 weeks, that we partnered with Steve Bannon. Yes, selfish plug, bestseller. Go buy the book. Please. No, literally.
We'll play the trailer. Yeah.
So here's the thing. It's doable. It's going to be a monumental lift that can only be done under President Trump's leadership. And how you do it is you don't take the bait. And this is what I told the Nevada State GOP convention this weekend in Tahoe. Don't take the bait. Don't ask for the overcorrection. Don't bend the knee to the left's radical left-wing ideology and projection and hypocrisy of us. We are the constitutional law-abiding citizens. We are the ones that don't want corruption in government. We are the ones that don't participate in that. So don't take that step where they say disband the FBI. No, we can't do that. Disband the DOD, disband the IC. But I'm 100% with you that we need serious reforms in all of it. And the way you start it is with Trump in office, personnel, the entire C-suite's cleared out. And here's the good thing. I thought we were going to have to find out more and more who these deep state operatives were. They're signing public letters. They're calling themselves out. They're issuing posts on social media. Great. So if Donald Trump were to win, we actually have a great starting point of people who don't support his administration. And then you implement things like Schedule F. And then you go to Congress and say, hey, stop funding these illegal activities. And since Christopher Wray broke the law 275,000 times in 1 year to illegally surveil FISA, use FISA to illegally surveil Americans, maybe we don't give him a new FBI headquarters building. This isn't rocket science, right? This is simple stuff to curtail the deep state and destroy it. Send FBI agents into the streets of America to chase down bank robbers and murderers and child rapists instead of planting them in D.C. for a 3-year rotation. Who needs that? For what purpose? Shut down the FBI headquarters building and make it like the size of one football field instead of the size of 10. No, I'm serious. Have cops go be cops, have lawyers go be lawyers, and then trim down massively almost every agency and department, because this is how government gangsters live in D.C. Every year they go to Congress and say, we need more money, we got to get bigger, and if you let us, we'll go out and eat more of the landscape. Well, what if you don't need to be bigger? No one ever pushes back and says, why do you need more money? Why do you need more bodies? Why do you need more access? And it's because they justify their existence to their deep state swamp buddies by saying, look how big we got under my leadership. Our budget went up, our billets went up. And we just got to shut all of that down. There's a million other things we can do, but basically you hit the nail on the head. We got to get Donald Trump elected. That's mission one. We do that, and we are on a great course and trajectory to demolishing the deep state.
Ladies and gentlemen, Government Gangsters, a book that you can buy, of course, at governmentgangsters.com and at Kash Patel's website, but also the movie coming out. Very excited about that. Kash, please come on between now and then, and we'll do the full trailer, and we'll do like a special on the movie, on the Government Gangsters movie. Please.
Oh, I love that. Thanks so much, man. And great show as always, and keep firing. You, everywhere I go, they're like, I watched Benny. I saw the headline. It was great.
Yeah. Godspeed, Kash.
Thank you.
All right, man. Kash Patel, rocking and rolling, baby. Rocking and rolling. So great. It's the energy is really good. The energy is really, really strong. Kind of like this weekend when Donald Trump showed up to a F1 race in Miami. Donald Trump went and led the entire stadium in a USA chant in Miami. Got some incredible headlines. I love this style of campaigning for Donald Trump. You've seen Donald Trump campaign at Chick-fil-A's. Seen Donald Trump campaign at McDonald's in East Palestine, of all places. You've seen Donald Trump deliver pizzas to firefighters. He did this this weekend in New York. And now Donald Trump, like being kind of just the man of the people, just absorbing this moment and absorbing the energy and walking around these stadiums. Donald Trump congratulates Lando Norris, who's apparently a huge time racing guy. I will openly admit, I do not follow F1 racing, so I do not know. Apparently, this guy's a massive superstar. And the McLaren teams in stunning Miami victory. Presidential candidate toured the McLaren garage. Just amazing photos here from the actual article. You see Donald Trump talking with the driver right there with the MAGA hat on. Donald Trump leading the entire. I'm not sure. ALX, is this the clip of Trump leading the entire stadium in a USA chant? Because that is epic. Okay, yeah, this is the full supercut. Here we go. Donald Trump's day at F1. I love this style of campaigning. Like going and absorbing these things. Trump was at the World Series. Donald Trump has gone from like obviously these huge fundraisers. Trump just raised $50 million in one night, like a couple weeks ago, to again Chick-fil-A or McDonald's, to like greasy pizza places in Manhattan. It's the man of the people. And Joe Biden could never, and we're going to explain why in just a second. Here we go. Donald Trump this weekend at the F1 Grand Prix. Puts a tear in your eye, right? You're like, oh man, returned. That's what we say. Return. That's what we say when we see those clips. You see that it's just the riz of Donald Trump. You know this term? The kids say riz. Kids say riz. We're a young company here. A lot of 20-year-olds work at our company. Riz is like a man's, like older generations would say, moxie, right? Like they're a bit like a man's ability to attract people unto himself. All right. Donald Trump with the young blondes at the F1 race. And they're like, he talked to me. They're like crying and like wiping tears away from their makeups, their mascara's running because Donald Trump like talked to them. Yeah. Yeah. You can see it obviously in the little moments like that, Trump leading the chants and the cheers. You can see it also in the statistics and the actual science of the polling, right? So it's like you can see it on a personal level. You can like see the anecdotal evidence, and then you can see the hard evidence. And this is why you'll never see Joe Biden at one of those events. Okay? I'm about to play you a clip from ABC News this weekend. Voters reveal whether they trust Biden or Trump in the most devastating corporate media clip you'll ever see. Okay, and I'm about to play you this in just a second, but I'm going to use this clip to explain why you'll never see Joe Biden at a stadium. Have you ever seen Joe Biden at a stadium? Anyone? You ever seen Joe Biden like walk into an arena, right? Like take the field or just any arena, anything. High school football game? Doesn't have to be the national championship. High school football game? Ever seen him? Nope. Nah. Oh, that's interesting. Why is that? Because Joe Biden isn't real. Nobody actually supports Joe Biden because Joe Biden would be booed. Because you know, and you know this in your heart, you know this. Let's say you're even like a super, like let's say you're a Democrat watching this right now. Let's say you even like Joe Biden, or you're like one of those people who's like, I don't like Trump's style. It's brash. It's angry. You'd fare very badly in like the realm of politics, where brashness and anger and masculine energy actually get you things. Okay, Donald Trump actually got this country thing. You kind of have to be a baller. You kind of have to be a bit of an animal. All right, to like politics is a war zone. It's a war zone. You want a general who's not like a sweet, kindly, degenerate, dementia-riddled old man. But here's all I'm trying to say here is, even if you are a like Democrat who's like kind of leaning and like checking out our show because you're like kind of leaning and you're like, I don't know, what do these people have to say? You're not cheering for Joe Biden. You know that Joe Biden wouldn't be cheered in a football stadium. If Joe Biden went to a high school football stadium all the way up to the Super Bowl, that Joe Biden would not be cheered for. Nobody would applaud for Joe Biden. That Joe Biden wouldn't be welcomed at these things. You don't see Joe Biden at these things because they know that Joe Biden would be savaged. That every person who comes up to Joe Biden, they wouldn't be crying their mascara out because Joe Biden touched them, right? The lady's like, he said hi to me. They'd be crying their mascara out because Joe Biden sniffed them. Joe Biden came up behind them. I was like, oh, Pantene Pro V? Very nice, one of my favorites. Is that the mango flavor? Oh, it's so creepy. They'd be crying for a very different reason. People cry when they meet Donald Trump because they are emotionally uplifted, because it is inspiring to meet Donald Trump, and it is exciting. People cry when they meet Joe Biden because it is scary and they feel violated. That's the difference. And so Joe Biden doesn't go to these big events because Joe Biden couldn't go to these big events because it'd be such a nightmare. When Joe Biden isn't even there, entire football stadiums chant FJB and Let's Go Brandon. Remember, the Let's Go Brandon chant was started at a race, was started at a NASCAR race, if I'm remembering correctly. And so that is why you will never, ever see Joe Biden at these events. It's also proven scientifically. You know, again, anecdotes. You get some blonde girl crying over Donald Trump. That's anecdotal. But you can see it now in the hard data. This is from ABC News, broadcast this weekend, how Joe Biden effectively isn't real. Joe Biden is no longer with us. Okay? The polls actually show this. You've never seen anything like it. Get ready. It's over. Watch.
And Biden seems to be struggling with key demographic groups that he would need to win, and win big, if he stands a chance of being reelected.
John, there is significant softness in the support for Joe Biden among core Democrats. In this poll, he's carrying black voters by 61 points. Well, that sounds like a lot, but he carried them by 84 points back in 2020. Latino voters, a very slight Biden edge in this poll, but it was a 21-point advantage in the exit polls back in 2020. And among younger voters, under 30, we're actually seeing Trump with a slight edge. That was a big win for Biden last time around. It's particularly stark to see that difference among voters of color. Black voters under age 50, far less likely in this poll to say they're supporting Joe Biden than older black voters.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Oh, okay, so Joe Biden has lost 20+% in his black support. He's lost 50% in Latino support, which is now at parity with Donald Trump, Latino support. And now he's winning with young voters. It's +5 with young voters. So we're finished. We're done. It's done. They called it a major softening of Joe Biden's electoral abilities. And I got to tell you, Joe Biden himself is majorly soft, very soft frontal lobe, very soft when you could see like his puffy, weird face, released this weird video with Mark Hamill from Star Wars and like the continuing disgrace and destruction and dumpster fire of the Star Wars brand. Star Wars brand is effectively like a tire fire inside of a wastewater treatment plant, is roaring out of control. You can see like Joe Biden's like softness. In fact, the only thing that happens that's hard with Joe Biden is when he hits his face onto the stage as he falls and collapses over at the Air Force graduation. That's your commander-in-chief, folks. Yeah. It's a scary time out there. People know that they have nobody to actually defend them, and so it's time to defend ourselves. And that is the theme of today's Monday Gun Day. Let's go. Gun Day. Are you excited, America? April 24th, 2024 marks the 57th consecutive, my bad, consecutive, not conservative, Freudian slip, some would call it, 57th consecutive month of 1 million plus background checks for gun sales. 57th? America, you dirty dog. You've spent 57 straight months with 1 million federal background checks for your firearm purchases. Good for you. April marked the 57th month with over 1 million hits on the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, otherwise known as the NICS system. On April 2nd, 2024, Breitbart News reported that March ended with over 1.4 million NICS sales. And the FBI records show NICS checks that April now continues that streak. The number of NICS checks in April was 2.4 million. So it's 2.4 million firearms and concealed carry permit holders were registered in the NICS system in the month of April. So good for you, America. Pretty amazing. This is how you stay free, ladies and gentlemen. Really special. Mark Olivia, manager and director of public affairs, commented that President Biden has used every tool at his disposal to attack the firearm industry, from publishing constitutionally dubious and overreaching administrative rules to bypass Congress to create criminal laws, weaponizing the committee department's Bureau of Industry and Security to throttle firearm ammunition and manufacturers and exporters. He attacks gun owners while ignoring criminals. Americans have rejected this misdirection, politically motivated maneuvers to infringe on the Second Amendment and punish the industry. Oh yeah, baby. I got to tell you, I'm really excited. This weekend, we are going to the shooting range again. I will be taking my Spikes Tactical AR-15 with me. I just got, finally, my suppressor. Very excited about that. And we look forward to lots of pew-pew and the practicing of our rights. Of course, if you don't practice your rights, use your rights, then they'll go away. And that's why it's so exciting to see that over the last 2 months, there were over 3 million pings to the NICS system. That's 3 million new firearms or concealed carry permits going through, and we are excited about that. That's how you stay free in this country. You can stay free, ladies and gentlemen, and help support us by going to our website, BennyJohnson.com, signing up for the Benny Brigade. The Benny Brigade, of course, is where you go in order to support our show for the cost of McDonald's large fry, and it's way healthier for you, okay, ladies and gentlemen. Go to BennyJohnson.com, sign up for the Benny Brigade, keep us free. When you do so, you will get the official Benny Brigade keychain shipped gratis to your door. We are building a community here. We are building a movement, and we are excited all about it greatly and heavenly. And heavenly, actually, is what our verse of the day is from. Ladies and gentlemen, the verse of the day today, and then we'll have the poll results for you. Verse of the day today from Proverbs: pride brings a person low, but the lowly in spirit gain honor. So we often say this: pride cometh before destruction. This program, there's only so much of the bending and the breaking and the destruction of these systems that were put in place that are based on, well, Christian world ethic, quite frankly. Go walk through DC. Go look at your currency. In God we trust. Justice. These systems have been set up. They've been set up by God. And it is for man to implement them. And when they get warped and abused and misused and mistreated, well, these people will be brought low. Ladies and gentlemen, we want honor. The lowly in spirit gain honor. Have honor today. Walk with your head upright. Walk in victory. Will we have victory? Well, let's go ahead and look at who is victorious in our poll today. Very interesting results here. Let's punch on in there. Klein, let's have a look. Marco Rubio has won the poll, but not by much, by 5 points. Marco Rubio. J.D. Vance pulling through. Tim Scott also getting a respectable 26%. J.D. Vance in second with 32%. And Doug Burgum with 4%. So this is, I would guess this was be sort of in line with what I would assume. Given the vibe of all of these candidates, nobody really knows who Doug Burgum is. Tim Scott's good, but a lot of people think he's a bit wishy-washy. J.D. Vance is obviously a rising star, and a lot of people see Marco Rubio as a really solid pick and somebody that would be good from an electoral standpoint. So, what do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Continue to vote in the poll. Is the poll closed, ALX? Is the poll ended? No. Okay, you can continue to vote. Maybe we'll if the results change to tomorrow, then we'll show you those results. And as promised, Klein has informed me that we have the meme from the start of the show. If you missed the start of the show, we have an excellent meme that is on brand for our VP debate. Ladies and gentlemen, let's sign off with the meme because it is a chef's kiss here. Have a great one. March forward to victory and laugh a little bit, right? Here we go.
Only 19 miles to go. If you can dodge traffic, you can dodge a ball. Have fun! I'm okay! Oh, man! Wake up, Smithy! Holy hell, son, you're about as useful as a flavored lollipop. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. What?
Okay, all right, ladies and gentlemen. I like sitting here watching it. I like sitting here watching it with you. I'm like, this is a piece of art. This is a piece of art. Okay, we are signed off, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Benny. I'll catch you tomorrow. See ya.